Of surpassing beauty and unrivaled splendor was the palatial building which Solomon and his associates erected for God and his worship. Garnished with precious stones, surrounded by spacious courts with magnificent approaches, and lined with carved cedar and burnished gold, the temple structure, with its broidered hangings and rich furnishings, was a fit emblem of the living Church of God on earth, which through the ages has been building in accordance with the divine pattern, with materials that have been likened to gold, silver, precious stones, polished after the similitude of a palace. 1 Corinthians 3 verse 12, Psalm 144 verse 12. Of this spiritual temple Christ is the chief cornerstone, in whom all the building fitly framed together groweth unto an holy temple in the Lord. Ephesians 2 verses 20 and 21. At last the temple planned by King David, and built by Solomon his son, was completed. All that came into Solomon's heart to make in the house of the Lord, he had prosperously effected. 2 Chronicles 7 verse 11. And now, in order that the palace crowning the heights of Mount Moriah might indeed be, as David had so much desired, a dwelling place, not for man, but for the Lord God, 1 Chronicles 29 verse 1, there remained the solemn ceremony of formally dedicating it to Jehovah and his worship. The spot on which the temple was built had long been regarded as a consecrated place. It was here that Abraham, the father of the faithful, had revealed his willingness to sacrifice his only son in obedience to the command of Jehovah. Here God had renewed with Abraham the covenant of blessing, which included the glorious messianic promise to the human race of deliverance through the sacrifice of the Son of the Most High. See Genesis 22 verses 9 and 16, 18. Here it was that when David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings to stay the avenging sword of the destroying angel, God had answered him by fire from heaven. See 1 Chronicles 21. And now once more the worshippers of Jehovah were here to meet their God and renew their vows of allegiance to him. The time chosen for the dedication was a most favorable one, the 7th month, when the people from every part of the kingdom were accustomed to assemble at Jerusalem to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles. This feast was preeminently an occasion of rejoicing. The labors of the harvest being ended and the toils of the new year not yet begun, the people were free from care and could give themselves up to the sacred, joyous influences of the hour. At the appointed time the hosts of Israel, with richly clad representatives from many foreign nations, assembled in the temple courts. The scene was one of unusual splendor. Solomon, with the elders of Israel and the most influential men among the people, had returned from another part of the city, whence they had brought the Ark of the Testament. From the sanctuary on the heights of Gibeon had been transferred the ancient tabernacle of the congregation, and all the holy vessels that were in the tabernacle, 2 Chronicles 5 verse 5, and these cherished reminders of the earlier experiences of the children of Israel during their wanderings in the wilderness and their conquest of Canaan, now found a permanent home in the splendid building that had been erected to take the place of the portable structure. In bringing to the temple the sacred ark containing the 2 tables of stone on which were written by the finger of God the precepts of the Decalogue, Solomon had followed the example of his father David. Every 6 paces he sacrificed. With singing and with music and with great ceremony, the priests brought in the ark of the covenant of the Lord unto his place, to the oracle of the house, into the most holy place. Verse 7. As they came out of the inner sanctuary, they took the positions assigned them. The singers, Levites arrayed in white linen, having cymbals and psalteries and harps, stood at the east end of the altar, and with them 120 priests sounding with trumpets. See verse 12. It came even to pass, as the trumpeters and singers were as one, to make one sound to be heard in praising and thanking the Lord, and when they lifted up their voice with the trumpets and cymbals and instruments of music, and praised the Lord, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever, that then the house was filled with a cloud, even the house of the Lord, so that the priests could not stand to minister by reason of the cloud, for the glory of the Lord had filled the house of God. Verses 13, 14. If you are benefiting from this story, Please share and subscribe. Realizing the significance of this cloud, Solomon declared, "The Lord hath said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. But I have built an house of habitation for thee, and a place for thy dwelling forever." 2 Chronicles 6 verses 1 and 2. The Lord reigneth, let the people tremble, he sitteth between the cherubims, let the earth be moved. The Lord is great in Zion, and he is high above all the people. Let them praise thy great and terrible name, for it is holy. Exalt ye the Lord our God, and worship at his footstool, for he is holy. Psalm 99 verses 1 to 5. In the midst of the court of the temple had been erected a brazen scaffold, or platform, 5 cubits long, and 5 cubits broad, and 3 cubits high. Upon this Solomon stood and with uplifted hands blessed the vast multitude before him. And all the congregation of Israel stood. 2 Chronicles 6 verses 13 and 3. Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, Solomon exclaimed, who hath with his hands fulfilled that which he spake with his mouth to my father David, saying, I have chosen Jerusalem, that my name might be there. Verses 4 to 6. Solomon then knelt upon the platform, and in the hearing of all the people offered the dedicatory prayer. Lifting his hands toward heaven, while the congregation were bowed with their faces to the ground, the king pleaded, Lord God of Israel, there is no God like thee in the heaven, nor in the earth, which keepest covenant, and showest mercy unto thy servants, that walk before thee with all their heart. Will God in very deed dwell with men on the earth? Behold, heaven and the heaven of heavens cannot contain thee, how much less this house which I have built? Have respect therefore to the prayer of thy servant, and to his supplication, O Lord my God, to hearken unto the cry and the prayer which thy servant prayeth before thee, that thine eyes may be open upon this house day and night, upon the place whereof thou hast said that thou wouldest put thy name there, to hearken unto the prayer which thy servant prayeth toward this place. Hearken therefore unto the supplications of thy servant, and of thy people Israel, which they shall make toward this place. Hear thou from thy dwelling place, even from heaven, and when thou hearest, forgive. If thy people Israel be put to the worse before the enemy, because they have sinned against thee, and shall return and confess thy name, and pray, and make supplication before thee in this house, then hear thou from the heavens, and forgive the sin of thy people Israel, and bring them again unto the land which thou gavest to them and to their fathers. When the heaven is shut up, and there is no rain, because they have sinned against thee, yet if they pray toward this place, and confess thy name, and turn from their sin, when thou dost afflict them, then hear thou from heaven, and forgive the sin of thy servants, and of thy people Israel, when thou hast taught them the good way, wherein they should walk, and send rain upon thy land, which thou hast given unto thy people for an inheritance. If there be dearth in the land, if there be pestilence, if there be blasting, or mildew, locusts, or caterpillars, if their enemies besiege them in the cities of their land, whatsoever sore or whatsoever sickness there be, then what prayer or what supplication soever shall be made of any man, or of all thy people Israel, when everyone shall know his own sore and his own grief, and shall spread forth his hands in his house, then hear thou from heaven thy dwelling place, and forgive, and render unto every man according unto all his ways, whose heart thou knowest, that they may fear thee, to walk in thy ways, so long as they live in the land which thou gavest unto our fathers. Moreover concerning the stranger, which is not of thy people Israel, but is come from a far country for thy great name's sake, and thy mighty hand, and thy stretched out arm, if they come and pray in this house, then hear thou from the heavens, even from thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth may know thy name, and fear thee, as doth thy people Israel, and may know that this house which I have built is called by thy name. If thy people go out to war against their enemies by the way that thou shalt send them, and they pray unto thee toward this city which thou hast chosen, and the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou from the heavens their prayer and their supplication, and maintain their cause. If they sin against thee, for there is no man which sinneth not, and thou be angry with them, and deliver them over before their enemies, and they carry them away captives unto a land far off or near. Yet if they bethink themselves in the land whither they are carried captive, and turn and pray unto thee in the land of their captivity, saying, We have sinned, we have done amiss, and have dealt wickedly. If they return to thee with all their heart and with all their soul in the land of their captivity, whither they have carried them captives, and pray toward their land, which thou gavest unto their fathers, and toward the city which thou hast chosen, and toward the house which I have built for thy name, then hear thou from the heavens, even from thy dwelling place, their prayer and their supplications, and maintain their cause, and forgive thy people which have sinned against thee. Now, my God, let, I beseech thee, thine eyes be open, and let thine ears be attent unto the prayer that is made in this place. Now therefore arise, O Lord God, into thy resting place, thou, and the ark of thy strength. Let thy priests, O Lord God, be clothed with salvation, and let thy saints rejoice in goodness. O Lord God, turn not away the face of thine anointed, remember the mercies of David thy servant. Verses 14 to 42. As Solomon ended his prayer, fire came down from heaven, and consumed the burnt offering in the sacrifices. The priests could not enter the temple because the glory of the Lord had filled the Lord's house. When all the children of Israel saw the glory of the Lord upon the house, they bowed themselves with their faces to the ground upon the pavement, and worshipped, and praised the Lord, saying, For he is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Then king and people offered sacrifices before the Lord. So the king and all the people dedicated the house of God. 2 Chronicles 7 verses 1 to 5. For 7 days the multitudes from every part of the kingdom, from the borders of Hamath unto the river of Egypt, a very great congregation, kept a joyous feast. The week following was spent by the happy throng in observing the Feast of Tabernacles. At the close of the season of reconsecration and rejoicing, the people returned to their homes, glad and merry in heart for the goodness that the Lord had showed unto David, and to Solomon, and to Israel his people. Verses 8-10. Please subscribe for more. Remember to pray to God, and this same prayer will be powerful in your life.